Good evening all, and welcome to another video on All How the Ale. It's Friday night, which means it's alcohol-free beer night, and the beers we're going for tonight are all lager. There's 4 of them. We're doing a bit of a comparison between some beers that are available in your local supermarkets, depending on where you live, and some online retailers as well, just to see kind of what you get for your money. And the 4 beers we're going for tonight are these 4. You've got Stoop from Mash Gang, you've got New Old Lager from Drop Bear Beer Co., you've got Jumpship's Yardarm, and Lucky Saint. So, the 2 that were acquired from supermarkets were Lucky Saint and the Drop Bear. I picked that up last week when I was in Wales on holiday. Obviously, being a Welsh beer, it is only available in Wales, in Welsh branches of Tesco's. I picked mine up in Prestatyn, and the Lucky Saint was picked up in Tesco in jolly old Stoke-on-Trent, and the Mash Gang was bought direct, as was the Jumpship Yardarm. So they are at some similar price points at the top end of the scale, and some slightly cheaper price points as well. And it's just a bit of fun just to see what kind of bang for buck you get. So we're going to do the usual competition where we've got like the showdown. We're going to pour all 4 and kind of just compare and contrast. There's no points, there's no prizes in this one, no nothing. All of these beers are really quite tasty. They've all featured in some of my favourite alcohol-free lagers. So we've got no bad ones here. We've just got different price points. So without further ado, we are going to open the beers and pour them into their respective glasses. Some of which are branded, like the Jumpship, which we're going to pour first of all into the little Jumpship tulip glass. So it's going to be poured as such. It is a beautiful, clear, golden beer. I'm not going to pour it all. But that's your beer in a glass. It looks like a good lager should, with a nice, foamy, creamy white head. And that is the Jumpship. The Lucky Saint is available, like I say, in 330ml bottles. These are the more expensive end. Well, certainly the Lucky Saint is. Now, because I've priced them as I bought them, so they are available in different size packs. But for the purposes of this, I've recorded it as per purchase. So the Lucky Saint is going into my my Father's Day glass, and the pour is slightly paler in colour. And that will do for that one. So you can see, just comparing it to the Jumpship, it is a slightly paler colour with a little bit of fridge haze going on, and indeed a little bit of haze in general. The Mash Gang Stoop is going to be poured into the little Mash Gang tub glass, because that's how we roll with the Mash Gang glasses. Little diddy ones. The pour is really quite pale, quite foamy. That's it reminds me of the cigarette that you see in the film Fifth Element, where you got 99% filter and 1% the cigarette itself. But yeah, paler, much closer to colour of the Lucky Saint. So it's a little bit paler still, but equally hazy, and yeah, nice white head on that one. And last but not least is my Welsh acquisition from a lovely little break I had in Wales, climbing Snowdon and whatnot last week. It was lovely. It was the Drop Bear New World Lager. And believe you me, these came in really handy on those really hot days. We're pouring it into my AF Beer Club glass, and the pour is, again, quite pale, clear, and that glass really does need a proper clean, so apologies in advance for that. So it is the clearest of the beers, I would say, next to the Jumpship, with similar colour. Yeah, quite similar. So, you know, they all look good, as lagers do. There's nothing really to call in terms of preference. It is just subtle differences. You've got slightly paler colours, you've got slightly hazy ones. Doesn't affect the flavour or the drinking experience other than visually. So we're going to score some points. But I say points, it's just which one I prefer most. Like I say, there's no points or prizes for the beers. You know, it's not going on untapped in this way. It just is what it is, just to see which I prefer out of these 4. And then I'll tell you the price points at the end. So in terms of the appearance, so this was the Jumpship. I like it. It looks clear, and it looks like a lager should. The Lucky Saint is a bit hazy for my liking for a lager, so that one doesn't get the point. Comparing it to the Mash Gang, the Mash Gang again is a little hazy. This is not just, it's not a negative, it's just what I prefer out of the two. I think I prefer the Jumpship, and then of course we're going to go to the Drop Bear. There's really very little to call here. I'm just going to hold them both up to the light, that way they're almost the same to look at from this point of view. Let's change the lights, I've got slightly different temperatures on the lights. If I was to edge it out, I'm going to say I prefer slightly the Jumpship, and the reason being it's got a little more colour and clarity than all the others, so I'm going to give it a point. And that's, again, it's not anything bad to say about any of them, because I like the look of them all, and indeed most of them featured very high scores. So the Yardarm has got a point off the bat, and excuse me, so I'll silence that alarm. As for the aromas, again, we're gonna go see which I prefer. So starting again with the Jumpship, it's sweet. It's a crystal malt clearly coming through. None of the big green grassy sours immediately off the bat. The Lucky Saint is spicy, hoppy, grassy, almost a bit of a citrus tang. It smells really, really good. So front runner so far is the Lucky Saint. Stoop, again, it's hoppy. It's got that SARS thing going on, even though I don't think there is SARS in there. It's got more to it than the Jumpship, but it's not as punchy and in your face as the Lucky Saint. But it's a beautiful, well-rounded lager aroma. And the Drop Bear, the New World Lager, again, it's more intense than the Jumpship Yardarm. It's almost got like a caramel type thing. And the New World Lager obviously features some Antipodean hops. I think it was Motueka and something else was in there. I think it mentions it, yeah. Motueka, Rakau and Waiti. And they have got their distinct flavours and aromas. And this one, it's almost got like a coffee kind of burnt caramel note to it. And this is that they all smell nice. I prefer 3 of the 4. The one I prefer least out of these 4 is the Yardarm, because it's got a sweeter note. I prefer the spicier, peppery, hoppy notes of the other 3, and it's just a case of which do you prefer? Do you prefer them slightly caramelly, like the New World Lager from Drop Bear? Do you prefer a more even, slightly citric note of the Stoop, which is arguably sort of the most authentic, shall we say, or do you prefer the in-your-face? It's almost over it's arguably the closest to a real lager, and by real I mean a full fat lager, is the Lucky Saint. It's just got that little edge to it for me. And the Lucky Saint kind of wins out there. So that one gets the point on the aromas. The body, this is the bit I've been looking forward to first of all. I haven't had a beer since I got back from Wales of any kind, alcohol-free or otherwise. So we're going to go for the body test, starting with the Yardarm. Beautiful body, medium weight, good carbonation. It's not heavy in the mouth, it's not gassy or anything like that. It's a really, really good body. The Lucky Saint, a little lighter, a little bit more pillowy, almost velvety, which is unusual in a lager for me. It's not unpleasant though, but let's just say there, so far the Yardarm has got the point. Stoop is lighter, it is cleaner in the mouth, it is still quite carbonated, but it works. And it's really, really close to the authentic drinking experience of a full fat lager. And the Drop Bear New World very similar to the Jumpship Yardarm. So again, 3 of the 4 I prefer. The Lucky Saint drops out of the contender for this point. I will say the Jumpship Yardarm and the Drop Bear New World Lager have got excellent body on them. They're both good medium weight, both light carbonation. They work really, really well. But the Mash Gang Stoop is closest to my palate anyway to a full fat lager in terms of the mouthfeel and the body overall. It's light to medium and a little bit pillowy in the mouth. It works. So as for the taste, this bit is the most subjective part of the test, and your results will probably vary to mine. So we're going to start with the Yardarm. In a lager, I'm going to say it now, I prefer hoppy, grassy notes, a little bit of spice. I prefer them that way just because that's what I like about the big old Pilsner style beer. And the Yardarm, it's more malty than it is hoppy on the lager side of things. It's a sweet malt to it. Not ideal. It's a good flavour. It's not my favourite style of flavour from a lager. As for the Lucky Saint, which had the strongest aroma profile, again, that grassy, hoppy, spicy note really comes out. And it leaves a nice, sort of slightly dry herbal note in the mouth. The Stoop is it's light, it's clean, it's crisp. It tastes very, very close to the kind of lager that it's trying to emulate. And if you read the can of Stoop, it's telling you it's trying to emulate those big American lagers that we all kind of know and love. Well, where does it say it on here? It says it, yeah. Heavily influenced by a love of 80s dad beers. So your Miller Lights and your Budweisers and the like. Take a traditionally mass-produced beer and inject a bit of love and attention. Lightly hopped and aged on oak for a refreshing dry finish. It says it isn't going to win any awards, but it's a slab of crushable, crispy boys. And it says, with an asterisk, since writing this, it has in fact won a lot of awards. And you can see why. It's an authentic flavour. It's an authentic body. It's an authentic everything. So yeah, it's really, really tasty. And it just works. As for the New World Lager, and this one is the most unique, I would say, of them all, because of those hops. Like I say, the Waiheke and the Matuika and the other one. It has those slightly caramelly notes. It has a sharpness to it. It's not lager as you know it, but it is really nice and unique. And you would drink it and you think, oh, that was different. I want to have another one of them. It's really good. But as for the points, for the win, it's a toss-up between 2 for me. It's a toss-up between the Stoop, which is really authentic, and the Lucky Saint, which is really punchy and in your face. Authenticity has to win for me, which means Stoop gets the point. I love the punchy flavour of the Lucky Saint, but authenticity is key here. And the last test on my scoreboard of joy is, as always, the finish. On a lager, I want those hoppy finishes. I want that grassy note. I'd like a little bit of the spice to come through. So we know that the Jumpship, being a sweeter, maltier beer, if you like that, you're going to absolutely love this one. It's clean, it's light, it's sweet on the back end. And for those who like a sweet finish, happy days, you're going to absolutely love that one. I do, but I prefer them hoppy. Anyway, the Lucky Saint, yeah, it's dry on the finish. It's lightly hopped on the back end. Most of the flavour is in the initial sort of taste when it hits your taste buds, and it goes away and leaves you with a light lager-like finish. The The Stoop it's an unusual one on the finish. It's hoppy, it's dry, with a slight sweetness to it, but there is something fruity. There is. I can't quite put my finger on it. And it does vary from batch to batch, because it's being small batch, you get subtle variations in the ingredients, and they bring their own little quirks to the mix. This one is almost peachy. I like it. But as for the New World Lager from Drop Bear, this one, it carries those hops through. They're a different kind of hop profile. And again, it's not my perfect lager finish, but it's really quite nice. It's different. So for the win on this one, I have to again go with authenticity compared to what I find is my ideal lager. And in this case, it's the Lucky Saint, because it has that hoppy punch. It's lighter than the flavour, I say, but it's the closest to what I would say is an authentic lager. Now, bearing in mind, all of these beers featured very highly on my scoreboard of joy on Untapped, and that they're all within like half a point of each other if memory serves. But when you compare them side by side, there is an inevitable situation where you might have a winner, you might not. In this case, we haven't got a winner, because we've got two that got 2 points. We've got one that got one, and we've got one that got none. And I'm waffling there. So our two beers that got 2 points was the Stoop and the Lucky Saint. The Yardarm got a point for the looks, and unfortunately New World didn't get a point across here at all. But this is not to say it's a bad beer, because it's excellent in its own right. It's just in esteemed company today. And I would happily recommend, and I bought lots of the New World Lager while I was in Wales and thoroughly enjoyed every single one. So yeah, it's a great beer. But we come to the interesting point, and I've written them on my scoreboard of joy as such, starting with the Lucky Saint on the left, Yardarm, Stoop and New World Lager. These are ordered from that side to that side in order of cost per litre. And the Lucky Saint and the Yardarm are the most expensive as purchased. They work at just over £6 a litre. The Stoop works out at just over £5 a litre. But the New World Lager, as purchased, a 4-pack in Tesco, works out just over £3 a litre, which is really incredible when you think about it. I was going to include the Heineken Zero in this one, and that worked out even cheaper. It's £4.50 for 6, so it was 2/3 of the price per can as per the Drop Bear. Let me just call out the exact prices. I did save the screenshot I took. So the Lucky Saint and the Yardarm are £6.6 a litre. The Stoop is £5.30 a litre, and the Drop Bear New World is £3.41 a litre. So some interesting findings, really. I didn't expect sort of the price differential, particularly with a Lucky Saint. Now, I know you can get it cheaper if you buy in multi-packs. I think a 4-pack is around about £6, so it would bring the average price down. It would drop that into second place in terms of the cost compared to the Yardarm, which was the largest pack I've bought of 24 beers. Yeah, you obviously get more value for money buying in large packs, and obviously supermarkets will ordinarily be cheaper than your direct purchase, but that's not always the case. So it is what it is. We've got 4 cracking beers from 4 really, really tasty breweries, and it's hard to say, if I had a gun held to my head, which would I pick? Because they're all great and they all suit different moods, and my moods do change, and therefore my flavour profiles and preferences rather do change. But today, I would happily drink any of these, but I would start with the Stoop, 100%, and I'd follow it up with the Lucky Saint. Then the New World and the Yardarm is a blind test. I'd stick my hand out and grab whichever one landed first. So yeah, there is a point to this video. It may not seem it. It may just look like I'm drinking lots of beer for fun and waffling at a camera. But my point here is there is great beer at different price points from different places. The Heineken that I was going to feature because it was cheap is okay. I chose not to include it because it's nowhere near as good as the four competitors behind me now. There are other lagers at a similar price point. You know, the Stella Artois, alcohol free, the Corona Zero, again, decent lagers, a little bit more expensive, but again, not as good as those four behind me. And there's a reason why I've purchased these four over and above the others. Why? Well, the cost isn't a factor. I'll be honest. It's the flavours first and foremost. It's the people that you deal with, particularly with the boys and girls at Mash Gang and at Jumpship and Drop Bear, respectively. Don't know anyone at Lucky Saint. Never spoken to anyone, but my local checkout staff at Tesco's are decent people, so it's always nice to have a chat with them as I go through on a Thursday, Friday, or whenever I end up in Tesco. I don't know. Anyway, I'm waffling, so I'm going to say those four beers behind me were the beers. I've been me. I've waffled enough. I will leave you in peace now to go and enjoy the rest of your Friday night, and I will see you again soon for another video. Bye for now.